Peace, and I'd like to welcome you back into another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I'm your Foul Player, and I wanted to make a live video um, regarding a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, and that's the decay of the city where I'm from, New York. The reason that I'm doing this video is because I want to show evidence of like what I'm talking about. You know, along like and along the way. Like I'm in the confines of my house right now, so I can't show shit. But soon I want to like show the areas that are of interest, like in the subject matter that I'm talking about this evening. But the reason that I'm doing, I mean, and you know, I don't personally live in New York as we speak. Like I live in the suburbs in Jersey, but one of the but I go to New York pretty much every day. Like and New York is 12 miles wide and like 2 miles in length. It might be 13 miles wide, but I know for sure it's 2 miles in length. And I drive when I go there almost every evening, the whole 2 miles width of it or length, whatever the hell. So I get to see a good amount of the city. You know, I drive from the one extreme of the east side to, I mean, one extreme of the west side to one extreme of the east side, from Hell's Kitchen like to the East River. And since probably like this summer, like that area is terrible. And that's not the only area that is limited to. Like, and I'm not saying like just boarded up, like, I think the boarded up stuff was gonna happen anyway, like businesses and whatnot. But I'm talking about like prostitution, like I'm talking about like crime. Like I seen a dude get stabbed like about 2 months ago, less than that. And it's not like, I'm like some songbird because my the first time I saw somebody die was one of my best friends, rest in peace, Ed. But and he got stabbed. And I was like 12 maybe, and it was, it did affect me. I mean, but what I'm saying is not I'm not like some songbird like that. I'm gonna have PTSD for seeing somebody get poked up, nowadays. But it's still like, like I don't want to be around that shit, like I don't want to see that stuff. I'm an old man. But and this happened like 2 months ago, like, and so it's like, irrelevant to what I'm saying. But and personally, I've said it in the past, like, well, first off, like I'm from if you don't know, I'm from Brooklyn, New York originally. I still go to Brooklyn um, at least once a week. My mom lives in Brooklyn, my people live in Brooklyn. Um, but I'm from Sunset Park, Brooklyn, 45 block, I'm there all the time, and I go to Harlem all the time. My boy got a liquor store in Harlem. Um, Washington Heights. I go to Crown Heights. Not like drive through either. Like I know people in all these places, and if I feel a certain way, I'll go. I'll go wherever the hell I want, regard. Like, but it's not like I'm living in like New Jersey now, and like New York is like lost to me. Again, like you could see like the skyline of New York right outside my window, basically. If I this laptop camera wasn't so crappy, I would have showed you guys. But one thing too is that I think a lot of people will probably dismiss like what I'm saying like off the rip because maybe like my political like machinations that I've stated in the past, like as far as like me not being liberal. In addition to that, like I don't really vote, but I did vote this year, and it wasn't a liberal vote, if you will, because I don't want to get like in trouble, God forbid. But that's the world we're living in. You can't talk about anything now. But see, but this is not coming from that area because there's people that like are Republicans like in the past that I've heard them dissing like New York, like Republicans from like Long Island or from like the burbs, like oh, like it's you know to hell with that city, but like they do it with that hate in their heart. Like I got nothing but love for New York. I'm from New York. I love my people. You know, and I'm no songbird either. I didn't become politically aware in 2020. I wanted to run for city council in New York. At one point for District 38. You know, so I know like the comings and goings. All the every a lot of the stuff that happens. Like I've been around. I'm not gonna say important people because these people like that I've been around are scumbags, but I've also been around some of the most hood people. Um, so I'm not speaking to you from no shocked point of view of what's happening in New York or because I lived in New York in the '80s too, and it was pretty rugged then too. But like now we're going like back to it, and I think it's like even worse now because back like you're seeing like people get like the guy who I saw get stabbed like 2 months ago. Like if you look it up in the paper, like they said it was like random. Like the dude just left rehab that day, and he was waiting. He missed his train. Oh, he was waiting on a train that was coming like at 30 minutes. So I think he went to go grab a slice of pizza from this dollar pizza place, and some random dude poked him. He died. I think the dude that got killed was a wrestler, a female wrestler's brother. And I peeped it. I didn't see like him getting stabbed, but I saw like him like laid out and like the police tape around him, and he ain't make it. But and again, like that stuff doesn't shock me because my friend one of my my good friends, Eddie Rosa, was the first person I saw die in front of me, and I was like 12 years old, and my friend was 15 years old. And rest in peace, Ed. Um, Rest in peace to my other man, Ed, too, that just died too, man. Um, like 1 week ago. But so I don't say these things from perspective of like a sour, like voter, if you will. Like I don't really give a shit. Like like a lot about. I mean, it doesn't affect me either way. Like I carry on. Like like I'm not like that politically you know motivated. If you, I don't know. But what I am concerned is for people that look like me. Because these areas that are like, what the areas that I'm first going to show are Midtown Manhattan. Like Midtown Manhattan is a dump now. Not only is it boarded up, like, boarded up, like I get it. Like a lot of businesses are closing and, with protests, like I guess they didn't want to get their shit broken into or, windows broken. That's one facet of it. But one thing that you're seeing hard body in New York now is prostitution. And the thing is that it's not prostitution, a bunch of crackheads that showed up, like, in Hell's Kitchen or Midtown Manhattan because the cops are not enforcing rules. Now, what's happening is that New York has a shelter system and they use the coronavirus excuse to move those people out of shelters and move them into hotels around Midtown Manhattan. And Midtown Manhattan is not getting a lot of tourism. So subsequently, like what's happening is that there's these dudes that you see them parked outside all these hotels because it's like a whole line of them. Um, and they'll have like these like hyper expensive vehicles like Maseratis and Bentleys and they're recruiting broads like to sell their ass. So like all you're seeing is like, and you could tell they're not like cracked out either. Like these are like girls that are like in their 20s and they're bad too. I mean, it's sad to see. Um, and I hope you pigs that may listen to it don't get like any ideas because that's terrible. Pimp. I've always loathed pimps. I cannot stand pimps. I've run down on many pimps. Pimps are pussy. For the most, like they'll give it up. Like they're tough with women. Like, but I've forcefully messed up a lot of pimps operations, and they don't try to set up shop again like anywhere near me. Um, So I've always, never liked that, because you don't see a lot of like, cats like pimping out, suburbanite like women. They're pimping out like hood women. That's not right. But you're seeing that in mass now, like in in this Hell's Kitchen area. And this is all like the guy that got stabbed 2 months ago. I'm gonna see if I put the article like in the comments or something. I don't even know. I don't know how to do that, but the prostitution problem, the boarding up of businesses, all in like one little area. It's not like I could show you like my hood too, like, and I am gonna show you my hood, but my hood's always kind of been a dump. Like it's always kind of looked shitty. But so it's not surprising, even though it's gotten shittier. But um, that area like Midtown Manhattan is reckless now. Like it's like probably one of the most dangerous. But like Crown Heights has gotten like way more dangerous now. Harlem, all these other areas I go to, like New York in general, like right now. And I'm not saying the thing is too, like I like ain't nothing shook about me, like but I don't like maybe in the past, like in my like early 20s, I'd probably like nobody's gonna stop me, like from walking wherever, but now I mean, like I guess maybe I am getting old, but this little generation that's come up in today's New York, and this is not just New York too, because I saw this in Florida when I went there this summer. Where else did I go to that was pretty shitty? Newark, like, which is in here in New Jersey, worst. um DC, I didn't go to the hood in DC this year, but um I guess I'll get back to you. But DC got mega gentrified. I'm trying to think if I missed any like hoods that I've been to. Wilmington, Delaware, worst. So I mean, like it's happening like other cities too, but New York is like the worst. And the thing is too that like a lot of people like are cheering that on, like like with the prostitution thing, like I've heard like actually coming out of people's mouths. And I think this is all like a setup, to be honestly. Like I think they've invested into like, something like this happen. Like a lot of people saying, oh well, a girl could sell herself. Like, do you really like, nobody ever like, um at 14 years old, like a girl like said, when I get to 18, I'm gonna be selling ass. Like that's terrible. And then this is happening like with girls that you could tell like they still have a soul about them. Like when you look in their eyes, like you could tell like they feel terrible about, selling ass. And I want to put it like, and I say selling ass like in to put that in a very ugly fashion because I don't like, you know, like I don't find nothing cute about that. I don't find like anything empowering about that. And that's what's being like, that's how they like I've heard people like talk about it like very liberal type people and say like, oh well, they're getting bread, like, and these are people from the hood more like, that are putting it in that fashion. Like, like people that are like yuppies that like have that like liberal like mind frame, they put it like, yo, well, you can't slut shame them. Like, I'm not slut shaming shit. Like, but I feel terrible for like, like, and that doesn't come from a position of like, or that me feeling terrible for them is not that I'm trying to take a high note to try to highlight something else like politically, because I mean, like, I think that's just bad all around. But it's happening now, like hard body, drug use. Oh, like you see a little bit of that Midtown. I mean, I guess I would have to walk in Midtown, which I don't like, because these little random assholes like they'll like snuff you out of nowhere, like and not that I'm like, if you snuff me straight up, like you're not gonna snuff me straight up, like you're gonna be fighting me straight up. But like these little random, like where they hit you from the side and all that stuff, and it's not that that stuff happens all the time, but you know you catch me in the good spot in the chin, like you're gonna put me out of commission, like. But and I'm not gonna walk through those areas anyway, so I don't know like what the drug use is like in Midtown necessarily. Like I'm pretty sure that it's up there, but I can show you more of the drug use in my neighborhood. Drug use in my neighborhood is like terrible right now. It's like they stopped like really enforcing it to a degree, and it's like dope. Like now they're like like you see a lot of people like messing with like the fentanyl and and dope. And I can speak from that perspective too, because my two of my brothers are big time drug addicts. And I got mad love for my brothers, but they're stuck with messing with them crons and diesel. So I mean, you gotta love them. I mean, I don't say I love them from afar because I see my brothers every time I go to Sunset, but you know, I'm speaking from somebody with a little bit of foreknowledge into this. So again, like because like a lot of people, like if you think a certain way, like people just dismiss you out. I say these things because if you think a certain way, which I do think a certain way, in the sense that I am conservative in my like a lot of the way I think is very conservative, in the fact that I um homeschool, don't like what they teach, cheap, you know um like to save my money. But that doesn't mean that, like, what I'm saying is wrong. I don't care if you're a total, like, um if you're if you're saying the truth, you're saying the truth. Like, the worst thing that's happening today is that people, like, dismiss something about you that they may not agree with, and dismiss everything you say. Like, if you're spitting truth to me and, like, you have a KKK uniform on, or you're dressed as a woman that's a dude, like, so long as, like, so long as you're telling me the truth, or like, or I could look up or with some discernment as to what you're saying, facts are facts. But people, like, will, like, try to mass dismiss you, like, because you're or, like, like Spanish, like, a lot of times I listen to a lot of things that are, like, more black centric, and, like, if you comment, God forbid, like, they're like, oh well, you Spanish people always trying to tell us, like, I ain't trying to tell you shit. Like, in addition to the fact that, like, a lot of my fam are straight up black. Like, I mean, like, my nieces and nephews are black, my grandpa black, my cousins black. I mean, my and this is, like, verifiable, like, like, I don't know if I mentioned, because I tried to make this video before, like, and I drank a coffee before I made it, so I may be babbling off. But I mentioned in the video before that I recorded, or in this live stream, who knows, that my cousin is a celebrity, somewhat. I mean, he's a Spanish celebrity, but his name is Lito MC Cassidy, um, Lito. But his real name is Lito Sierra, and that's my actual, like, surname. But you look him up, straight up black, like dreads. You know, man, my grandfather was, like, somebody in Puerto Rico, and you look him up, and he's straight up black, and his name is Herminio Sierra. Um, but you know, you look at, like, I'm like the whitest dude, like, in my family, pretty much. But you look at my brother, Mello, is straight up black. My cousins, Samari, Sky, my little nieces, my little nephews, like, So I speak for, like, but God forbid you bring up, like, one point that's not on some pre-made, like, liberal bullshit that, like, dudes, like, found out from, like, the TV, like, because you weren't raised that way, more likely than not, and, like, automatically, oh well, of course, like, you would think that way because, like, you whatever, like, and these are point. The thing is that bothers me today with these things is that people wouldn't bring up a point like that in my face. Like, people bring up a point like that, and nobody's ever in their life, like, has ever said, like, in my, like, to my face. And I don't think anybody's ever felt that way either, like, in my presence, like, orally, that this guy is, like, coming, like, with some other aspirations, like, other than what he's saying, like, you know all my like, I don't need to be co-signed, like, in any of this, but, like, all the people that I'm cool with from my building, Richardson, my man Sean, all the people from my building were black, like, and these are, like, my peoples. Everybody from the other building that I'm cool with, like, were either, like, Latin or black, but, like, that, there's no, like, white cats, like, that we came up with, like, didn't happen, like, like, I like, and and maybe because I don't like overly talk hood, like like that people like will dismiss that, like do whatever you will. But there's a lot of people that talk hood that like they just talk like pastors. And I've always loathed, in addition to loathing pimps, I've always loathed people that talk like reverends, like people that talk like reverends, like reverends and pastors are slick in my eyes. Like when I hear that kind of talk, I always like automatically think that this guy's trying to get bread from me or trying to win me on emotion. And I'm an emotionless mf'er, and you can't win me like that. Like you're trying to con me basically. And like when politicians speak that way, YouTube personalities, like it really sours me. And I don't like, and I don't like, not that I'm like a big shot, like, or like I'm trying to like say it as like a prideful thing, but I really try. I don't think like I hope I don't sound like hood or and I've always tried to not sound that way. And and like my friends when I was young actually called me Black Joey because I sounded like white dude. Or what they thought sounded like white dude. And I don't think I sound like, I think I sound like, a regular New York guy, but I enunciate, I guess, when I speak. But you know, so maybe if you come across me on the YouTube sphere, people like try to dismiss you, like, you can't speak on hood things because I don't sound like a typical hood dude. But I've been through a ton more hood situations than 99.9% of anybody you're gonna see on YouTube. Like a lot of the dudes on YouTube that talk like hood things, like especially people that I've had problems with on YouTube, like King Louis, like you could tell they were the guy who was running to the store for some hood dudes, or like co-signing everything that certain hood dudes said, but ain't ever do a real hood dude or hood thing in their life other than climbing through somebody's window to steal a 32-inch flat screen that cost $70 on clearance. You know, but I've lived a whole hood life, like, and not like a whole like that I lived on a hood block. No, no, no. Like, you go to my block and ask about me, and people are gonna tell you what it is, or somebody not gonna say who because I don't wanna but somebody recently, like or a couple months ago. Actually I'm not gonna say that. But so I could speak from that perspective. In addition to that, like, if I didn't say this already, again, I am yammering off, but politically, you know, um I was involved in that sphere because I wanted to run for city council in New York. And that's the grimy, New York politics, grimiest do, especially the politicians that work for, so-called Black and Spanish people like us, grimiest people in the world, you know, garbage individuals. Like the politicians that you see in The Wire, like that times 100. And a lot of the people that were my heroes were the ones that were like fighting for people like that looked like me and my family. Um, that were completely disenfranchised with the political specter and or were kicked out of the political specter. You know, and these are some of the smartest, like sharpest, in tune, know what's going on with like Black and Spanish people. Um, I don't want to put his name out there, but one of them was the one that actually started up fake Reverend Al Sharpton's career. And they kept Reverend Al Sharpton like in the political sphere and on TV. But the person that I looked up to was the one that brought him into the fray, and that person was a lawyer who was disbarred and was one of the finest lawyers of this country. Um, but and this issue, not that it affects me, man, because I could also say like to hell with it, like and forget about the whole thing, because I live in the suburbs now, but I have a big time love for my people, like for my hood. I still love Sunset Park. I still love Sixth Avenue. Like I still love New York. And these people that I'm not gonna say run New York, but that govern like the way that New York thinks. um they don't have love for you or me, or us. Like they got love, like they love like the power that they hold over us, or the fact that they can make us do shit that we weren't doing like 10 years ago, or like speaking 10 years ago. Now we're fighting for these things that we weren't, like for these things that we were dissing 10 years ago. So that should give you pause. And that, and a lot of time, with like our like people that look like me find out things that are done against them like entirely too late. And I'll give an example. Like I came home in 2004, um, and that's when you started seeing like the mass gentrification in Sunset Park. Like where I started seeing it. Like it was just like everybody who lived there before, plus a bunch of yuppies that moved in there. And people that were cool with me were like, yo, this is fantastic. We got all these white people moving in, like the neighborhood's getting better. But with that, like the cops came in addition to those people, and like they just started bothering everybody who didn't look like a yuppie, including me. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to start leaving, you know, New York, because I hate getting pestered with by the cops. Like, like I don't though I may think in what may be considered conservative, like I don't have a lot of conservative outlooks. And the biggest one of that is like I'm not like support the blue. I think cops are the biggest crybabies going. I think cops are like worse crybabies than like a lot of like white liberals. But the thing with cops is that they get paid handsomely to do what they do. There's dudes in the military that don't make shit. Like they don't get paid at all. And they're busting their gun and like, avoiding like gunfire and like, you don't see them crying, or you don't see a lot of assholes like flying flags with like a blue and black stripe in front of their house, um, supporting them. So you know, and as far as another conservative tenant that I or something that's more like liberal that I do agree with, like I think healthcare should be free, and I get free healthcare, like or I have healthcare, but I've always thought healthcare should be free, but now with the coronavirus, I mean, like, that would have been a good cost, like or a good expenditure, because then you don't got to be shutting down the economy, like which I'm against. Um, but if everybody had good healthcare or free healthcare, you don't got to shut things down for something like this, and we're gonna be going through things like this for years and years to come. So I don't care about footing the bill, I guess, for that, um, because I think everybody has a right to it. What else am I more what make be considered liberal on? That's about it, basically. I mean, the love for my people. Um, trying to think. Oh, I think all drugs should be legal. I think it's a waste of money. Like um, arresting like drug addicts, and I think drug dealers should be put out of business. And I know a lot of people like that I came up with were you know, bumping, and I've had to you know, capitalize off these little instances myself. Or if I needed money, like I'd go take from a gullible bumper, if you will. But you know, and it's not that I'm trying to oppose like drug dealers. I'm trying to um help drug addicts. Like I think like the fact that they like arrest drug addicts is a waste of money. They should be putting all that money into rehab and you know stopping people's addictions. Give them psychological help. Maybe a lot of them. My brother's a drug addict, and he has a reason as to why he's a drug addict. In my mind, and it's because of what he went through as a kid. Um, so maybe if he had the psychological help, and my dad too. My I don't know if I mentioned it before, but my dad was a drug addict. He actually died from complications due to an overdose. But my dad went through a lot of shit when he was a kid, and maybe the fact that he had an affinity for drugs had to do with the fact of his upbringing and how bad of an upbringing that he had. Like my father's dad, hated him. Um, so what if my dad or my brother had that psychological help, and they weren't, they found a way like to navigate through their problems without, you know, utilizing drugs. But that's another thing that I'm have a more liberal outlook on, like the war on, or the failed war on drugs, if you will. But you know, that's just where I'm coming from, like as far, And another thing too, you got to be a real jerk off, like to go with every, and that's what I get more pissed off with my people, is that we've adopted every liberal principle and we fight over every liberal principle, which we weren't cool with 10 years ago. So like, and you got to be a real jerk off to fight for every principle, like, like of anything, like, and especially politics. There's only two political parties in this country, and you're going to be getting up in arms, like for, every facet and sub facet of like everything that you may consider to be Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal. That's stupid. You know, and like, people will dismiss you if you agree with one of these, like, so-called principles. Like I have a friend who's gonna be running for the governor of um this state, New Jersey, and he's support the blue, like, or he's opposed to legalizing weed. Um, so we don't agree on that. But I mean, like, when am I going to stop talking to him? Because or he's going to stop talking to me because we don't agree on these two things. But the problem is that people are way too fickle today, and I hope that not. I mean, it doesn't give a shit. I have 3 people listening now, but I hope that I'm not dismissed for what I'm saying, because of a certain avenue or a certain um belief that I subscribe to, you know, because that's real asshole stuff. You know, um, I think I should be um dismissed if I'm being like funky, yeah, but I'm not funky, 1 iota. But there's another there was something else that I wanted to address as far as like the decay of New York, but like, the another thing too is that like the decay, like one thing I am gonna, like I said I wasn't gonna address, is like the boarding up of businesses and stuff, like, because that's not a good look, sure, but like some of them did put up those boards, like, so they don't get, like, their shit broken in during the riots, but some of them legitimately closed, put boards up because they're not coming back. And I think a lot of that stuff was already going to happen, because if you go anywhere in New York, like Midtown, there's like, you'll find like a Chase Bank on almost every block in some areas. And it's like, why the hell did they do that? Like, but the thing is that those like banks were driving up rent prices for like retail businesses or smaller businesses. So then now that they're closed, like they went from asking for like 120 a month to trying to get like 110 a month, or like initially they were trying to get even more than that. They were trying to get like 150 grand a month for these businesses, and like people were like looking at them like, "Yo, you're bugging." But like now, like those businesses that were getting 120 before like the shutdown, are now trying to get like 110 or 100 or 100 flat, and it's not happening because like before, like, I mean, like all these unnecessary like bank branches that are now closed because nobody's walking around New York because it's like dangerous, because of they don't want to get sick, um that those businesses are not going to be filled. like you can't even picture it being filled right now because like by anything like retail or anything like selling stuff to people because there's so many like crazy dudes that are running around New York right now that and then you can wear a mask legally. Like I mean, like I don't see like any like business like surviving like in those areas, like um, like Midtown Manhattan. So Midtown Manhattan is dead. And the thing is too that that may not be a big deal like to most people, and but the thing like the area when I say New York to you, if you're not from New York, like the area that you may be thinking of when I say New York is the area that I'm talking about. Like when you think of New York, you don't think of where I'm from, Sunset Park, or like you don't think of Barclay Center. Like you think of like Midtown Manhattan. Like the picture that's coming to your head now is like Midtown. Like and this is the area that I'm talking about. That's like falling apart like drastically. Oh, another like area that I went to this summer that like is a total like shithole. Is Miami. Like Miami, I did happen to go to this. That it was trash. Like, and Miami's like one of my used to be one of my favorite cities. But even before this all went down, the last time I went to Miami, I was like, yeah, I'm not coming back here. But I never took my son to Miami, and like this time I was bored because of the lockdown stuff. Like, so I was like, let's just make a date and like go down to Miami. Not happening no more. I ain't going to the clubs in Miami. No, maybe. Like I actually go to the clubs in like like North Miami Beach now. Like is it Treehouse? I don't know. But I don't go to like big clubs no more. But I'm not going to any clubs no more. But Miami was like is Midtown New York, same thing. A bunch of reckless dudes. Actually, it's not as bad. It's a little bit less, but it's gonna get there probably. But you know, and I would like to show like Newark. Newark's always kind of been crappy, but like I wouldn't feel like comfortable like you know looking like some like half white boy almost and like recording around Newark. Like I know my way around New York and like you know like I feel more comfortable doing it there. Plus like it's more evident like in New York like what I'm telling you because a lot of these areas like that I'm telling you you've probably already seen like on TV like I said before. So you know that way you don't think I'm BSing if you will. But yeah, that like I kind of been yammering on for a bit, like and I wanted to do this video live, like to show from the heart, or that it's coming from the heart, and not rehearsed or whatnot. But the videos that are subsequently gonna follow, since I can't do them live, like because I'm gonna be shooting from my phone, um, and I don't have that 1,000 subs yet. Like I'm gonna be doing them like in regular like non-live video segment. So yeah, I hope you guys will check them out and let it maybe it resonates with you. If not, blow me. But what else? Subscribe to my peoples too. Subscribe to Lowe's Dog and the Pimpin'. Subscribe to Southpaw TV 773. Subscribe to Michael Johnson Boxing Talk and More. Subscribe to Tyrone Smith Boxing. Damn, who am I forgetting? Um Subscribe to 503 Line. I hope I didn't say the wrong area code. Subscribe to my man Mac. Stay Ready TV or Stay Ready Boxing. Um, damn, if I'm missing somebody, I mean I'm sorry. It doesn't matter anyway. There's 3 motherfuckers watching. But with that, I'm out. Thank you for stepping into the file play lane. Peace.